Today, our guest in Yerevan studio is European Union Special Representative in South Caucasus, Toivo Klar. Mr. Klar, welcome to our studio in Yerevan, and thank you for granting this interview. This is your first visit since the start of the war in Nagorno-Karabakh. Let me start an interview by asking, why did you come to Armenia? What is your mission for this visit? Will you be able also to visit Nagorno-Karabakh for assessing, I assume, the humanitarian needs of returning refugees? Will Azerbaijan allow you to go there? What is the arrangement?
Well, first of all, I'm here to learn about the situation in Armenia, the situation in the region, and views and opinions of Armenian leaders and also of opinion makers. That is the primary purpose. Now, will I be going to Nagorno-Karabakh this time? No, I will not be going to Nagorno-Karabakh this time. In fact, I will be going to Georgia from here. And then from Georgia, I will afterwards be flying to Russia, and from Russia, I will be going to Baku.
Mr. Klar, many Armenians noticed that you went to Azerbaijan just 2 days before the war, but never came to Armenia during the war or before the war. Was there any reason not to visit Armenia? Also, you tweeted bombing of Ganja in Azerbaijan, but did not tweet about bombing Stepanakert and other civilian targets in Nagorno-Karabakh. Is that the case, or I'm missing something here?
Well, first of all, I think you're missing something there. I think the EU very clearly condemned all civilian casualties. As far as my visit to Azerbaijan, frankly, that was not my intention to only visit Baku. I was intending to come to Yerevan also in the next days. This was my intention. I had informed also the Armenian authorities of the fact that I was going to Azerbaijan and that I was hoping to visit Yerevan in the coming days. The fact that the war broke out, that was obviously not something that I was aware of that was going to happen. It was, however, clear at that stage already that tensions were very high. And that was the reason why I thought that it would be prudent to travel to the region to see what the situation was and to, if possible, help diffuse tensions. Now, unfortunately, that I was not able to do.
And can you please tell me what went wrong in the region? Why it was not possible to prevent the war or anticipate the resumption of hostilities or to stop it earlier? Did EU outsource managing the conflict to Russia, understanding that Russia has great leverage over Armenia and Azerbaijan and in the region? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to look at the history and the fact that the negotiating process had gone on for many years. Ultimately, the co-chairs of the Minsk group were trying, I believe, sincerely and trying their best to help the sides achieve a negotiated solution. That was the objective of the international community, and so what went wrong was that, unfortunately, a negotiated solution was not found over these many years. As far as did the EU outsource crisis management to Russia, no, the EU stood behind the European co-chair of the Minsk group. That was a very conscious decision. France, as the European co-chair of the Minsk group, received the full support of the other members of the European Union, and that was very early on decided in the conflict that rather than the EU trying to insert itself, we would take somewhat of a backseat and instead support firmly the European co-chair and the Minsk group as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And with the sanctions looming against Russia, how European Union will interact with Moscow, Nagorno-Karabakh? Would that be possible?
I think we have interacted, and I have personally had many meetings in Moscow over the years, and in the case of Nagorno-Karabakh, also in the case of the conflict in Georgia, we will continue to have contacts and to work with Russia.
Mm-hmm. And what is the position of the European Union on Russian peacekeeping forces deployed in Nagorno-Karabakh for a 5-year period with the possibility of automatic extension? You have any concern, any worries on this or not?
Frankly, I think that it was a great achievement to have a ceasefire, and Russia is to be commended for the fact that it was able to achieve a ceasefire in November, and the deployment of the peacekeeping forces has helped to bring security, and that is to be welcomed. Now, of course, this is only part of the way, in the sense that we have not a peace settlement, we have a ceasefire. But as far as that goes, the fact that Russia was willing to insert itself so strongly, that is to be welcomed, and we have said that that is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And how about the OSCE Minsk group now? I think it's sort of very difficult and very controversial environment now for OSCE Minsk group co-chairs to restart, or I don't know, refresh, redouble their efforts on this. And if they even succeeded in that, what would be the number 1, 2 topics on the agenda, on the table?
Well, I know that the Minsk Group co-chairs are working very hard to restart a process of negotiations, because indeed there are many questions that are outstanding, and this, as I said, we don't have a peace settlement, we have a ceasefire, and therefore the Minsk Group co-chairs are working very hard to restart discussions with a view to helping the sides achieve real peace. Of course, one very important issue that is on the agenda of the co-chairs is access to Nagorno-Karabakh, and also bringing the sides together. That is still challenging, but I believe that it is ultimately it's ultimately in the interest of Yerevan. It's in the interest of Baku to have the Minsk Group co-chairs re-engaged and to re-engage themselves under these auspices.
What do you mean by saying access is a problem for Minsk Group? I mean, they cannot go to Nagorno-Karabakh now. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I think that they are still discussing on how and when they will go to Nagorno-Karabakh, and I think that is what is being worked on. Mm-hmm. I am confident that in the near future they will be visiting there, and it's likewise in the interest of the European Union, it's in the interest of the United Nations to go to Nagorno-Karabakh, to have access to Nagorno-Karabakh, and to be present in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, when I've asked the number 1 or 2 topics on the agenda or the negotiating table, I was meaning that would there be a number 1 topic previously was status of Nagorno-Karabakh, if not number 1, but then maybe number 2, number 3. How important is it now finding a solution over the status of Nagorno-Karabakh, or that issue is closed already? What's the status of that?
Well, first of all, I think that is a question that one should ask of the Minsk Group co-chairs. As you know, the European Union is not one of the co-chair countries or one of the co-chair parties. I think that a comprehensive settlement is one that the entire region needs. But as far as the priorities and sequencing and methods, there I think I would really leave the answer to the Minsk Group co-chairs, one of them.
Mr. Ambassador, can we say that Europe failed Armenia and Armenian democracy by stopping the war and deploying peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh? Russia increased its direct influence on Armenia's national security, but most importantly on Armenia's domestic politics as well. And the democratically elected government of Pashinyan is under enormous pressure to resign. There are street demonstrations, protests organized by the opposition who accused Pashinyan of betraying the national interest, mismanaging the war, because of which thousands of young soldiers lost their lives. Nagorno-Karabakh lost territories as well. What's your thought on that?
Well, first of all, I do not agree with those who say, as you just said, that the EU failed Armenia. In fact, we just are on the 1st of March having the full implementation of the SEPA agreement between the European Union and Armenia. And we have just discussed the past week our new cooperation program for the next 7 years with Armenian authorities. So the EU is firmly and fully involved with Armenia and with the region. And moreover, during the COVID pandemic and in the post-war period, the EU has deployed substantial resources to support Armenia. So I think that description of this I quite simply do not agree with that. And I realize absolutely that the present situation is very difficult in Armenia, in Yerevan, and I have heard that many times over during these meetings that I have had here. And I completely understand that this is a very, very difficult period in Armenia. But again, the European Union stands firmly with Armenia and with the region, and I am confident that working together we can achieve a peaceful and prosperous, not only Armenia but South Caucasus.
Mr. Ambassador, there's a real, potential, let's say, chance that Armenia's democracy will be undone by some, some of the players in Armenia. And for example, there are those who are calling even, violent actions against the Armenian government. I mean, aren't you afraid that something can happen to this young, very young democracy?
Well, I can just say to that as Winston Churchill said that democracy, or I'm not quoting him now verbatim, but his meaning was that democracy may be an imperfect system, but it's the best of all possible bad systems. So democracy is not perfect, but democracy is the best system that we can have, and tensions in democratic societies are solved through the ballot box, and that is the way it should be. And I am confident that this is also the way that the Armenian people wish it to be.
And the other question, how could the European Union influence Turkey to stop aggressive posture on Armenia? Is EU working with Turkey on these issues, for example? Are you trying, to persuade Turkey to stop this aggressive rhetoric against Armenia?
Well, I am firmly convinced that it is in Turkey's own best interest to stretch out the hand to Armenia and to work together to overcome the difficult history and to work together for a better future, because Armenia is Turkey's neighbor, and for that very reason, it makes sense in the Turkish self-interest to try to improve these relations. So that is something that I'm saying here, and that is something that I will say to my Turkish friends. I firmly believe that Turkey has a positive role to play.
For example, will the European Union and yourself urge Turkey to open up the border, to open borders with Armenia?
Well, I believe that the opening of all communication links would be important and would be the right thing to do. In fact, we today had a very good discussions on what is being talked about in the trilateral working group on communication links, and the EU certainly wants to support this process.
Will you talk about also possibilities of opening the region, unblocking the roads and communication lines? Is there a plan to enable, to facilitate, or to finance these projects?
Well, in our cooperation plans between the European Union and Armenia, in fact, it is foreseen that the EU will support infrastructure projects in Armenia anyway. And of course, we are right now not part of this trilateral working group, but with the outcomes of the trilateral working group, I'm sure that the European Union will look to play a positive role where it can to support the opening of communication links and the strengthening of the region in general.
Surely you have a great influence over Baku, right? Azerbaijan is the partner, economic partner of European Union, so you can surely influence their decisions, and also Turkey. And it's I remember that previously when OSCE Minsk Group was discussing a final agreement on Nagorno-Karabakh, and they were talking also about the possibility of European Union donor countries coming to the region and and investing. Is there something like that, or is just the people forgot about it?
No, certainly in the region is very much in people's minds. So in that sense, certainly the region is I would say more central to people's minds than perhaps it has been in the past. And we stand ready again to support Armenia, and we stand ready to support the region. Both Armenia and Azerbaijan, as well as Georgia, are members of the Eastern Partnership. And in that context, and through our bilateral cooperation, the European Union seeks to play a positive role and to support a genuine peace process here. So it's for sure that the European Union is willing to support, is supporting, is investing money in the region, and will continue to do so.
And with the change of administration in United States, do you think that Americans will become more closer partner with EU on this region as well?
Well, that I think you will have to ask from the United States. But I can say that we have in the past had a very close and good cooperation with the United States. I have a very close relationship with the American co-chair of the Minsk Group personally. So I am confident of the United States remaining engaged in the region, but the exact extent and the exact plans, I think you will have to ask of American representatives.
Mr. Ambassador, last comment and question. I think it seems to me that previously the only language of settling conflict was the diplomacy, but now we see that there is one language that people listen to, that's the war. Will you allow this to continue? And what's your thought on that? Do you think that this is permissible to go to war and to start the war against your neighbor and killing thousands of people and to take territories? Or what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, any fighting, any killing is horrible, and the fact that so many young men have died is a huge tragedy, and I cannot comprehend how great the pain it causes for the families. I cannot understand that. But I think now is the time really to take the ceasefire, make best use of it, and really work for a comprehensive and just settlement of the conflict. And that is what the co-chairs want to do. That is what the European Union wants to support in this region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you.